Ooh boy, Thangs is doing something shady. You know, you can't trust anybody who trains an AI these days. Except it probably wasn't actually that big a deal. And this is probably a better cautionary tale for not airing your laundry on a public forum that should probably be a private email. Just saying. Hey everybody, it's Joe the 3D printing professor, and if you're new to 3D printing or just looking for something new to do with 3D printing, you're in the right place. I hope that you'll stick around and maybe come join me on my Discord, where we've got a great community of people who are showing off the cool 3D prints that they're doing and helping each other 3D print better. I hope that you'll check it out. But on Twitter, the website Cults, which is an online repository similar to Printables or Thingiverse or Thangs, a place where you could go and download 3D models, well, they called out another repository, Thangs, for some behavior that they thought wasn't very forward. Thangs apparently was making an army of fake accounts on their website and using it to download thousands of 3D models. And how did Colts know that it was Thangs that was doing this? Well, because Thangs named their fake account bot army as Thangs 1, Thangs 2, Thangs 3. Like, Thangs wasn't being real sneaky about this. They weren't trying to hide what they were doing. And DeMeyere, the guy who runs Thangs, jumped on Twitter and quickly explained what they were doing and why they were doing it. And quite frankly, what they were doing boils down to basically the exact same thing that Google does in order to index a website for their search engine, because Thangs has a search engine that searches all the other repositories as well. And Thangs does it with the 3D model so that they can use those 3D models to find other similar 3D models. So if you find one thing that you like, you're not beholden to tags or descriptions, but the actual shape of the 3D model can be used to find other 3D models. And honestly, that's really not bad. In fact, it's pretty much on the up and up, all of it. Now, perhaps Thangs could have been a little bit more forward about what they were doing, contacted Colts before making a bunch of accounts on their site to download 3D models. But Google doesn't get permission from the sites that they index, and there was a time in the past where people were like, hey, we don't want Google to be searching our site, and Google said, fine, put a robots.txt file in your root directory, and if we see that, we'll pay attention to whatever rules you put in there. But really quickly, people realized that being on Google was a huge benefit to them, and they stopped telling Google not to index them. And I think a very similar thing is happening here. The thing is, as this was happening, I kind of had an understanding of what Thangs' position was, because a little while ago, like months, like hundreds of TikTok dance crazes ago, I actually sat down in a video chat with Dennis and asked him a little bit about Thangs, because before that, I had made a video saying, well, what's Thangs up to? They're training an AI. Here's some ideas about what they could be doing with that, but we don't know. And Dennis wanted to clarify his position. And I never made the video about that. Maybe if I had taken that video interview and put it out earlier, people would have understood what Thangs was about and why they were doing this, and this would have been a non-issue. Probably not, because, nobody would have watched my video, but it would have at least been out there, and I wouldn't have felt like I should have shared this. So I want to share with you guys my interview with Dennis, the creator of Thangs, and so that you guys can understand a little bit about Thangs' idea and mission behind them. Of course, I'm not doing this right now as an extremely transparent excuse to tell you all that right now you can get the entire library of premium 3D models from the 3D Printing Professor right now on Thangs memberships. I mean, it is that, but it's not just that. Thangs recently launched their membership feature, which, a little bit like Patreon, allows you to support your favorite designers. Now, if you sign up on Thangs membership, you will get access to my entire back catalog of premium 3D print models that you can download a little bit at a time, a bit like going to a buffet and picking what you want every month. And if you go and sign up with the coupon code 3DPP40 right now, you can get 40% off of your membership for the next 4 months. But this is a limited time offer and ends in August. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to Dennis from Thangs about was something that I had brought up in my video, the fact that they were using the data on Thangs to train an AI, and what were they wanting to train the AI to do. Of course, my theory was that they were going to use it to be generative, to say, hey, I want something in the shape of something, and it would use that data to do it. But Dennis had a very surprising answer for me.
I mean, first, this is an important question to ask, and I'll tell you why. But before I get into it, I want to be very clear. We've never trained any AIs or neural networks on Thangs user data for anything that you would be thinking like a generative design tool or anything along those lines. We have basic machine learning implementations, and they're the following. We scan all content uploaded to Thangs, and we try to ensure that it's family friendly. We don't have, moral opinions expressed on the platform or political ideologies in that way of speaking, but we do make sure that if it isn't appropriate, we don't want it on the landing page because that's just the position of our platform. So that's like the one machine learning implementation. The other one that we do is almost best to just show you, frankly. And so I'm going to share my window for 1 second, but it's very innocuous. I wish I could tell you like, oh no, there's some deeper idea behind this, but this is a model. It's on the landing page right now and trending from 3D Print Bunny.
Bluey.
And if you look, yeah, exactly. And if you look down, these are related to Bluey. They're other door hangers, some from 3D Print Bunny, but others from, say, like Jared, LKF Land. And how this works is by looking at similarity search. So it's pretty benign. What we use the machine learning for, it's in service of just finding more good content. What we did do, just to be really clear, and I want to be upfront about this, we updated our privacy policy to remove any standard boilerplate language around training artificial intelligences. So that's all gone. And it was based on the feedback that we got. It was like, don't make it generic, be specific. And so we're just being very specific now.
Awesome.
There is, though, a bigger question here. If we're going to be upfront about this, right? There's a paradigm shift happening, and people are training large artificial intelligences using transformer-based neural networks, stable diffusion type implementations. And you've seen this, right? Like this is DALL-E 2. You've seen announcements from Google with Dream Fusion. That's a 3D version that uses neural radiance fields to create 3D content. So there's a big thing happening, and I would argue that it's the right question to ask. Like, what are you using my data for?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think it's one of the things in the community we need to talk more about, because not all of these systems are respecting creator rights, to be perfectly blunt. And they need to do that. And it's early days, but kind of like taking from creators without respecting the work that they put into it, their content licenses, is not okay. So I'm glad that you asked it, I guess is my point, right? Like what we're doing is pretty innocuous, but it's important to think everybody should be asking this question.
Yeah, it's a big discussion to have. And the thing is, I think that 2D data is very easy to acquire and train and even find associated words to train it with. But as far as 3D data goes, there's not a whole lot of it out there. So I see this being a big uphill battle. And I guess my perception was that you guys were going to take this uploaded data and maybe hand it over to somebody else to use to train their neural networks with, as opposed to them just going out, scraping Thingiverse and doing it without telling anybody, which, like I say, I was okay with that course of action, but you're not even doing that, are you?
No, we're not. We've had plenty of people reach out, but no, we say no. We've always said no. we actually have a way larger data set than Thangs data, right? We have 14 million models in our search index, and weeks like last week, it grows by 100,000 models. You know, if you're using any major 3D platform, that week, we have all the latest models, and they're in the search index. We don't take the traffic. We send our users free to those platforms. We never rank our own models in search above third-party platforms. We never charge third-party platforms for all of that traffic. And just one I was looking at yesterday, because I'm chatting with their CEO, just one of those platforms, we send 115,000 users a month to them for free. So let's just call that we're sending them $65,000 minimum per month worth of traffic for free. Never ask for a penny.
So that's the feature of Thangs, where we can do a search on Thangs, and it will take us to. We don't have it, but we have it over here. You're a little bit like Santa Claus in Miracle on 34th Street. You know what? We don't have it here, but they do. Go check them out.
I mean, that's the idea, is one place where you can find everything, but it's very different, right? Because it's a fundamentally different way of thinking, where it's not zero sum. And this is a big deal. And I'll bring it up in context of like a business model. So we don't need our platform to drive awareness for hardware sales. We're a software company. And so from our perspective, it's fine. Like a rising tide lifts all ships. And I'll tell you why I was talking to the CEO of the other platform. So we have, this is also kind of crazy. Last week we had just over 20,000 models uploaded by Thangs users. Right, so Thangs users just uploaded that much 3D content last week, which is massive.
Yeah.
But what I did is I reached out to the CEO of this other platform and I said, hey, listen, we built a prototype. We want to push it. You guys have to approve it on your side. But what we're going to do is and the reason why I knew that number off the top of my head for search is like, oh, right now we send you this many users per month for free. I want to send you all of our models. Now, not our models as in like, here's our creators' models. Without the permission, but at the end of the upload process on Thangs, I'm going to add a button that says, push to, if they'd like. It's not checked by default, but push to these other platforms, because what we're seeing is thousands of creators every month are actually cross-platform uploading. So what we did is we said, let's just modify our process. So you've given us your category, your tags, your description, your images of your prints. We take all of those and then we normalize it. So like our categories don't map to this platform's categories, for example. And trust me that you know the name of this other platform. So we did like a mapping, right? And then we said images, tags, they don't necessarily work one-to-one. We did all of that behind the scenes so that they could push one button after upload. And again, it goes back to, what if you aren't zero-sum thinking?
During the course of my conversation, I was very impressed with Thangs' dedication, not just to creators, but to helping creators succeed.
Right now, I have a really big belief that the 3D world, but specifically 3D printing, it's fueled based on creators and designers. If you don't have great stuff to print, you're not going to be printing as much as you would otherwise be printing. So content kind of makes that world go around. I am also, I'm concerned, frankly, and I have been since we started Thangs, that we're not finding ways to help more creators support their hobby. So, and I'm gonna give you the very direct answer, but let me just like zoom out for 1 second. You're a creator, you're building a new mesh, it's something great. It's not a door hanger, but maybe it is a door hanger. That takes days. But if you're building something more complicated, days, weeks. It can take a long time if you've ever built a mesh from scratch to really like make something, make sure the minimum wall thickness is there, give it positive volume, all the things we know you have to do to print. And then what do they get? So we all say we want it for free, or we'll pay for it. But if we pay for it, we're paying for it on a marketplace. On a marketplace, let's say you sell 10 models a day at $5 a day, which is more generous than 90% more or more of those 3D creators. You're making after the cut that the platform takes, you're making below the poverty level. So this creator can't support themselves. People just want to consume it, and they don't want to provide anything back. And so our version is a little different. So every time they upload a new piece of content, every time, all of their followers are notified in 3 ways. On the web platform and little notification bell, they get an email saying someone you follow has uploaded a new model with a picture of the model. And then we have mobile apps now for iOS and Android, and they get a notification should they choose to have push notifications turned on. What that allows a creator to do is constantly re-engage their audience. And then they can say, hey, support my Patreon. give me a like and a sub on YouTube. It lets them build an audience. And at the end of the day, push come to shove, I'm going to create a bit more user friction, and I'm aware of it. We have SSO from Google, from Facebook, from Apple. You pick it, we support it to make it 2 clicks. It's really fast, but I'm going to always put the creator first, because we got to make sure that they're able to build an audience, to monetize, to support their living. And I get on these calls, and it's amazing, because you know who some of the people are that are like the bigger creators or up and coming creators on Thangs, and you get on a call and they say, thank you, because this was a side hustle for me that I couldn't make my full-time job. And I can tell you some, and they're just like, this has allowed me to actually make it my full-time job. And that means we get more content for free, but we're also putting ourselves in a position where we can support those creators a bit more. We also, if you haven't clicked, I'll just show you a quick example and then I'll stop talking. But if you haven't clicked up here on Thangs recently, the contest. So every week we give away 30 prizes to the top creators based on likes, right? Based on unique downloads. So it can't be cheated, right? You have to have a logged in user. I need you to be logged in for that. But in that contest, this is the most aggressive creator rewards program on any 3D platform. We give away 30 prizes every week, and then every single week the thing starts again, 30 more prizes, and they're meaningful. And you don't have to wait and add up points like a frequent flyer program or anything. It's literally just share your content, and if people love it, you're going to get something for it in a lot of cases. We want to support the community. When we got feedback saying, hey, I want to see my prints on the landing page, we said, awesome. And now prints are default on landing. You can see them for all the models. We're here to support everybody else. If I can make a selfish ask, if that's what you're saying, what can I get out there? I would say we are working really hard on these apps, and there's a sync app for Windows, a sync app for Mac. There is a Blender add-on. There's mobile apps as well now for iOS and Android. But look at those apps, and we do private, encrypted, secure, all by default backup for creators. They don't have an automated backup tool that also does visual 3D revision control, just like GitHub, and then private real-time collaboration. We're building these tools for creators. So give it a try. If you don't like it, let us know what we can do better. My DMs are always open to everybody, but keep us honest, give us more feedback. Do exactly what you did, Joe, in your video. Be like, hey, listen, there's questions. Someone should answer these. And let me know, and I'm always available to jump on and answer the questions.
And while it's exciting to see a company that's very designer-centric and very designer-focused, it does kind of raise an interesting question. How does Thangs stay afloat? How do they make their money?
We have an enterprise product. It's an enterprise product that is single tenant. So this is not data that intermingles in any way with Thangs. It's called Physna, Physna, and it's our enterprise business. It's single tenant. It has things like SOC 2 compliance, which make it so that data, legally, couldn't even intermingle between the two. So it's a different business. It sells their commercial APIs in the cloud, and they do 3D search. Now, that does not mean that Thangs is not also going to make money. So Thangs isn't like a side hobby for us. What you're probably haven't a chance to see this yet, but let me just show you an example specifically, because again, seeing is believing. And this is my models that you're looking at. Well, first, here's ThangSync. You install this, it's an app, it goes on Mac, it goes on Windows, automatically backs up every time you hit the save button in whatever 3D design client that you're working on. ThangSync is backing up every version. Let's imagine that you're building this ray gun and you're hitting save, You never have to break your flow. You're always just uploading every time you make a change. Well, what happens if you want to work with other people? Well, you're basically going to go back to 15 years ago, and V1, V2, everyone waits a day. Or if you're looking below here, you can see something that looks familiar to you if you're an engineer and you've worked on any software. This is GitHub, and these are flows that show you concepts of branching for collaboration. Now, why is that an important part of this answer? Let me show you. With our 3D search capability, I can do this. So I can compare visually what changes from version to version in real time while working with others. Oh, replace this end sphere with kind of like the ray gun fun component. This is a 3D collaboration tool that no one's been able to build so far. There's nothing exotic to our business model. In fact, if you look at my background, I've helped build and worked on some of the largest SaaS products on the planet.
Okay, so Dennis is a businessman. He's going to be able to keep Thangs afloat, but does he actually care about 3D printing or do any 3D printing?
We've so just in our office alone, not alone my house, we've probably got 9, 10 3D printers. In my house, I've done everything from like lower end enders. I actually really like the Prusa hardware. The other thing that I'll tell you that I'm talking to these people about, but it's purely as a fanboy, I don't have any relationship with them at all, is you probably saw them at Earth Cocoa Press.
Yeah, Ellie.
I have some friends that are chefs that have been buying like high end, like $20,000-$25,000 food printers.
Mhm.
Cocoa Press is coming in at a fraction of that cost, and you can see the economies of scale shooting it down. I think that is so cool.
It is.
Can you imagine
it is
like
unbelievable
3D printing chocolates for your kids? How
Yeah.
cool would that be?
with their names on it or whatever.
Yes. I'm really excited about that. And then the other thing I'll
Also,
give you
also
if
it's a 3D printer that doesn't contribute to the plastic waste problem, and you're gonna eat the friggin' 3D prints. So end of the day, it's a win-win.
it's instant smiles for everybody.
I know I was certainly all smiles by the time my conversation with Dennis was done, because it is so good. Sometimes we use these services and websites and all we have is a URL, but to get to know the people behind the services and things, or in this case, the Thangs that we use, it's really a good feeling. And getting to know people and communicating with them is really the key to having a peaceful coexistence with people. And just like in this case, Thangs and Colts were able to work out what was going on, and they are now working together to make 3D printing better. And that is super exciting. I want to thank you very much for watching, and again remind you that you are a child of God, but we are all children of God. So give each other a little bit more love, and until next time, thank you very much for watching.